Okay, hi, my name is Genevieve Rogers and I'm applying to be an RA in George Page Apartments.
Hi, my name is James C. and I'll apply for SLA for Page.
My name is Michael and I'll be applying for SLA for Lover Nick.
Hi, my name is Kayla and I'm applying to be RA for freshman housing.
Hi, my name is Matt Abracosa. I'm applying to be SLA for the freshman houses.
Okay, we'll go ahead and read the activity instructions. For this activity, you will move from one side of the room visible to the camera to the other depending on your personal response. If you agree to the prompt, you will stand on one side, decide as a group which areas agree, and if you disagree, you will stand on the other side. The objective of this activity is to come up with a consensus as a group whether or not you would agree or disagree with the statement. This means that in order to move on to the next question, you all must come to a general agreement. This process should involve dialogue and effort to understand the perspective of others in your group. Keep in mind, we want to hear your discussion. Although you'll be moving around, please keep your conversation close to the camera. Our hope is to see you as a group work through certain prompts that start off with your individual opinions and eventually work to a group consensus.
Okay, so here are the questions that we're going to be answering today. So agree or disagree. You're cooking a meal for dinner. You pile dishes up and clean them after you are done cooking, rather than cleaning the dishes as you go.
Should
Agree
I
or
decide
disagree?
we agree?
Yeah.
Agree and disagree? Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Ooh.
Agree.
Okay, that's
Disagree.
hard.
How does she look? After, right? It's after.
Agree or disagree? Okay.
So
This is after.
We pile up all the dishes.
Yeah.
You pile all them
Pile
up
them
and then
up
clean them
and
up
then clean them
after.
at the end.
after you're done cooking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're cooking and you're not eating.
Wait,
No.
yeah,
Then
yeah.
that means this would be after as you go.
That would be.
That's not a question.
Cooking a meal for dinner. You pile
After-
dishes up.
Oh, I think that after you're done cooking, so once you're done cooking and then you're gonna wash the dishes
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. But then the other one's gonna be saying how like as you're cooking you're washing.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
We all, we
very
all
interesting.
agree
Yeah.
that we pile up our dishes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then clean them
so.
afterwards.
Yeah.
I think
Okay,
it's efficient.
interesting. Why is that? What is, what
I
is
think it's a more efficient way.
I
Like,
think it's just better than the other
Yeah.
option.
I think
Yeah.
it's better than being distracted like in between.
Yes, and just going from one thing to another thing makes it very efficient.
Yeah, I like to also enjoying your meal and stuff while you're cooking.
Yeah.
And then like the cleaning is like step 2 after you know.
It's like the hard part. Like the part that you want to dread a little bit and then you're like, here it comes. That's the cleaning part.
All right.
Okay, the next one is agree or disagree. You see someone experiencing homelessness on the sidewalk. Should you give them money? Agree to give them money, disagree not to give them money.
Are we all in disagree?
I guess so.
Okay.
Can you explain why?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I'll go first. So I usually will keep things like granola bars, like non-perishables, in my car, and that way, like if I see a homeless person on the street, a lot of times they're not asking me for money, but they'll just say like anything helps, and so I feel like something like food it will go farther than money.
I think in those situations, especially when you know that they're asking for food instead of money, I think it shows that they genuinely want the food instead of using money for something else. It's just like a risk factor.
Yeah, I think the risk factor of giving them money, comes to the consequence of not really knowing what they're going to do with the money. So if you give them like food or something else that can be like they can actually use in their day-to-day life, then you actually know like what is going to, what they're going to be using it for, that's actually going to like help them
Yeah.
later on in life.
Yeah. In that situation, I'd probably either like take them to like a restaurant close by or give them like a gift card I might not use anymore.
I would not give them money because of the uncertainty about what are they going to use it for, but the cliche answer, which I sometimes do, is, just pray for them. It helps just seeing them, reflect on things that in your own way. So just keeping them in mind.
Yeah.
Okay. Agree or disagree? You've had an extremely long and difficult week and you need to rest. A resident knocks on your door at 2 a.m. with a non-emergency problem. You ignore the knock and let yourself go back to sleep with the intention of following up with that resident the next day. Agree to follow up with them the next day. Disagree, open the door.
Yeah. I'm not.
I don't know open the door yet.
Yeah.
We did move.
You just never know when an emergency might happen. So it's best to address it right away rather than putting it off because you never know what the situation might lead to.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I'm honestly more of a night person anyways, and I feel like if it's 2 a.m., like your mind isn't necessarily working at like full capacity, like you could forget the next day, or it's just like unreliable to like try to put stuff like that off, especially if they're coming to you, that's already like a really bold move for them to do that, so I feel like it's best to address it right away.
Yeah, I agree. Like, if they're coming to you at 2 a.m., knocking on your door, there must be something that's bothering them that they need to talk to you about. And so I feel like just ignoring them is sort of disrespectful in a way. But yeah, I feel like if they're coming to you at that time of the hour, it seems like something's on their mind and they want to talk to you about it and they trust you enough, and so you should like respect that and answer the door for them.
I think Kayla makes a really good point, because I think why would they come at 2 a.m.? They could come the next day or come earlier. I think that just shows that they do have a reason for coming.
I think it's important, if we are to give this role, is that we are here to serve the people that in the living area, and so just being available any time of the day is part of the duty, and it should be part of a joy for them to just come on in and want to interact with us. So we just want to make sure we're there for them.
Okay. Agree or disagree? A person's cleanliness is a reflection of their effectiveness as a leader. Agree, disagree.
Should I just go there? Let me just go to agree.
Alright, Matt, sure, keep it interesting.
Should I go first?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I would say I agree to a certain extent, because one, like, life is always crazy, and I feel like the most effective leaders are ones who are able to balance how life can throw you curveballs and stuff. And so with that, life's not always going to be organized and stuff. So yes, it's important to be organized, and that's a good reflection of, you know, someone who is on top of things. But it should be okay for them to be, you know, a little bit open to some messiness.
Me personally, I chose disagree, because the question is asking, is a person's cleanliness is a reflection of effectiveness as a leader. I definitely know some people who aren't the most clean, and I know definitely that they're still leaders. And so I think this question just shows that you don't have to be clean to be a leader.
Yeah. I agree with that statement, just because I don't think cleanliness necessarily has to do anything with leadership. It might have something to do with discipline, and leaders should be disciplined. However, I don't think cleanliness itself is the best way to measure that, because they might be disciplined in other areas.
Yeah. See, I see where I'm on the disagree side, but I see where you're coming from, Matt.
There's a middle.
Yeah. Actually, because like at the same time, I feel like in order to be a good leader, you have to have a sense of organizational skills, and I feel like that sort of goes hand in hand with cleanliness and like your ability to just like organize your life and like things in your life. So like I think I'm sort of just torn between the two sides.
No, yeah, I actually think.
Me too.
Now that I think about it, it's like so fundamental, like fundamentally based. Like, if you're not clean, like that means you don't have a lot of organizational skills. You don't have a lot of discipline. You don't like stuff like that, where it's like very important in leadership. But obviously, like there's got to be like anomalies and stuff, like you said, where you know some people are really, really great leaders. They're just not necessarily clean. But yeah, I don't know. It's like. Yeah, I'm definitely more in the middle.
Yeah. So I feel like the discipline part, like you got it with the discipline part. Like you have to have a sense of discipline to be a leader. But I feel like you said, I don't think you really need like to be clean, like meat free.
That's why the middle ground is
like right.
That's what consensus is.
Yes.
Okay, last one.
Should we? It says the objective of this activity is to come with the consensus. Should we just say that's the middle? I don't know if we could do that.
If I could be in the middle, I would.
It says as a group whether or not you agree or disagree with it.
Oh my gosh. I think they're
Tough
just
question.
making us have to choose.
Yeah. I think
What do you guys
if I
think?
had to, I would go.
But since the
I would
question,
be
that's it.
persuaded over there.
I think since the question is saying like a person's cleanliness is a reflection of their effectiveness as a leader, that's just one-sided. So it's either you go there or you guys come here. But I don't know. For us, for me personally, I still believe disagree, because just because you're clean doesn't mean you're a leader. If that makes sense. That's my reason. Try to persuade you guys.
It all goes back to fundamentals for me, like who you are. But I understand the other side too. It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah. I think I just have to go over here. I don't think there's any way for me to persuade myself from that side to say there.
When I think about this question, I think it depends on what the definition of cleanliness is, because a person that's not necessarily the cleanest might still be organized. So I think organization is a good reflection of effectiveness as a leader, but cleanliness, that's a little bit more subjective. That one, there's more leeway to that, I think. Yeah.
I'm actually gonna move because a person's clean is a reflection. It doesn't mean it's the reflection.
Yeah. That's what.
And so I will agree.
Jim's point.
It's not saying it has to be. It's not the reflection.
Yeah,
you know, it's
yeah.
a reflection, and that I
Okay.
think it's positive. Like most of my clean friends.
It's an aspect.
Good.
Okay.
I guess let's all go there again.
Are you clean, Michael?
I'm a little bit in the middle. I think I can work on my cleanliness.
Because I think you're an effective leader. So
Thank you.
what is that?
Yeah, it's a little hard.
I think we're all effective leaders.
All right.
Hop onto this side.
I guess since it is an aspect of leadership, I will hop on here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Consensus.
Alright. So next question.
Last one. Agree or disagree? You spend a month planning an event that costs $500. Only 2 residents show up on the day of the event. This event is considered a failure. Agree that it's a failure. Disagree that it's a failure.
I don't know. I gotta think about it.
I'm going to the agree side.
Okay.
Agree that it's a failure.
This one's a little hard too. Yeah.
Okay, I have to disagree.
Should I start us off?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. The reason why I agree that it could be considered a failure is because with a month of planning, that in that time you can find, the best date, ask around, ensure that you can get the most people out to that event, and also, things that the people would have enjoyed for that event. So a lot of effort could have gone into it. And I think with that budget as well, that budget allows for, to incentivize a lot of people to come in. So unfortunately, if you were to put in a month's worth of planning and just to see 2 of your residents come, I would see kind of be, ineffective and kind of a failure.
I think I have to agree. Like, just the fact that you can do so much, like putting up posters around campus, like doing all kinds of things to get the word out, and you said like asking people around what's the best day for it. That amount of money, I feel like you can do a lot of stuff with it, in terms of just like planning stuff and buying stuff. And so I think that if only 2 people come out, then I think you didn't use your resources to your fullest abilities. Because I feel like there's a lot of resources on the Pepperdine campus to just get stuff out about different events. And so I feel like there should have been a larger turnout if you had such a long time and a big budget to do it.
Okay, so I try not to look at anything as a failure. I don't like that word. Yeah, it's just like if you look at things that you do as a failure, it just like kind of makes things really sad.
Yeah.
And also like my biggest thing is like, what if those 2 people had like a life-changing experience? Like $500 for 2 people, that's gonna go a long way.
Yeah.
So it's like even if those 2 people specifically had like the best time of their lives, and it's not a failure,
Yeah.
Just to add on to what Jenna said, I think it really does. This is kind of the question where you could go in the middle as well.
Yeah.
Because I think it depends on the objective and your goal of the event.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it really just depends on the objective and goal of the event. But I think still, like you said, just to add on, I think if the 2 residents had the best time of their lives, let's say it's for spiritual life, since a few of us are applying to spiritual life, I think if 2 of those people got saved, let's say,
Yeah.
then I think that's still better than a bunch of people. I don't think that's a failure.
Yeah. I think when you're in this position and you're planning events and you have all these resources, there's still so many things that are out of your control. So for example, my experience this past year, we planned, me and my RA, my co-RA, we planned a movie event, and for basically like an hour, only 1 person showed up. But I think the important thing to remember was, if that 1 person has a great experience and makes a personal connection with us, then that's not a failure. Then we made someone feel like they're more included in this community. We promoted inclusivity, and I think even 1 person is just so valuable. So I think that's why I would have to be here.
And I totally understand that point where like, you know, one person, you know, that's enough.
Mhm.
But I also feel like